Watch Darcey Silva's chaotic quest for love play out on our screens. A roller coaster of hope and heartbreak that has become a cornerstone of the Day Fiancé universe. We've laughed, we've cringed, and we've sympathized. But recently, the performance has shifted. The drama has taken on a darker, more unsettling edge. An insider source close to the Silva family now claims that what we are witnessing is no longer a storyline. It's not about finding a man or securing a spin-off. It's a desperate attempt to save Darcey from herself, a spiral so severe that her family fears she has finally reached a breaking point. This isn't entertainment anymore. It's a terrifying glimpse into a life on the verge of collapse. And behind the scenes, a secret plan is in motion to pull her back from the brink. This is the tell all tapes. And if you believe there's always more to the story than what the cameras show us, then you're in the right place. The rabbit hole goes deeper than you could ever imagine. Before we expose the evidence and unpack the explosive theory of the Silva family's secret intervention, do me a favor, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. You are not going to want to miss a single piece of this investigation because the truth we are about to uncover is far more shocking and serious than any televised tell-all. To understand the crisis, you must first understand the stage. Darcey Silva doesn't just exist on television. She has curated a digital empire built on a foundation of vulnerability. Her social media is a carefully constructed theater of emotion. It's a place for promoting her brand, House of. A place for showcasing her glamorous twin life with Stacey, and most importantly, a direct line to the fans who validate her journey. But this direct line has recently become a public crime scene, a digital diary of a mind in turmoil. The pattern is always the same, and it has been escalating at an alarming rate. It begins late at night, usually between the hours of and in the morning. A flurry of activity floods her Instagram stories. Sometimes it's a barrage of cryptic quotes, memes about betrayal, heartbreak, and unrequited love presented without context. Other times, it's more direct and far more concerning. A rambling typewritten paragraph in a Notes app screenshot, accusing unnamed enemies of sabotaging her happiness. A selfie taken in low light, her eyes puffy and red with a caption that veers between self-pity and defiance. These posts are raw, unfiltered, and deeply unsettling. They feel like a pressure valve being released, a desperate scream into the digital void. But the most telling part of this pattern isn't the posts themselves. It's what happens next. By sunrise, they are gone, vanished, wiped from her feed as if they never existed. The next morning, her profile is back to its regularly scheduled programming. A filtered photo promoting a new outfit, a video of her and Stacey laughing, a motivational quote about being a strong woman. This cycle of late night confession followed by morning after deletion is the first piece of public evidence in our investigation. It paints a picture not of a calculated reality star creating drama, but of a person caught in a loop of instability and regret. The late-night posts are the impulse, the raw pain bubbling to the surface when her defenses are down. The morning deletion is the shame, the panic, the desperate attempt to put the mask back on and pretend everything is okay. It's a clear signal of someone who is losing control and is terrified of the consequences. For the casual viewer, it's just Darcey being Darcey. But for those watching closely, and for the family behind the scenes, it's a flashing red light, a public SOS that can no longer be ignored. This isn't about managing a brand. It's about managing a breakdown that is happening in real time right before our eyes. While the public sees these digital breadcrumbs, the full picture, according to our source, is infinitely more dire. A person claiming to be a longtime friend of the Silva family, someone who has known Darcey and Stacey since before the cameras ever started rolling, has reportedly come forward not for fame or for money, but out of what they describe as sheer unadulterated fear for Darcey's life. What you see on TV, what you see on her Instagram, the source allegedly stated, is maybe % of reality. It's a sanitized, edited version of a crisis that has been consuming her for years. The family is at their wits' end. This insider, this voice from behind the gilded curtain of reality TV, paints a harrowing picture that goes far beyond simple heartbreak or a thirst for fame. The source alleges that the family's primary concern isn't another failed relationship, but a dangerous and escalating dependency issue. They believe Darcey is caught in a toxic cycle involving a dangerous mix of prescription anxiety medication and alcohol. This isn't a recreational habit, the source claims, but a coping mechanism that has spiraled out of control. During times of immense stress, a breakup, a fight, negative feedback online, the pressure of filming, Darcey allegedly turns to this combination to numb the pain. The slurred speech we occasionally see on camera is not, as some have speculated, just an act for drama. It is, according to the source, a very real symptom of her state, often much worse when the cameras are off. The inconsolable crying fits are not just for a storyline. They are the genuine emotional outpourings of a person whose chemical balance and emotional regulation are severely compromised. The family has allegedly tried to talk to her, to reason with her, but they are dealing with a master of deflection. Darcey, fueled by the narrative of a woman perpetually wronged in love, frames every concern as an attack. She reportedly twists their worry into accusations, claiming they don't understand the pressure she's under, that they are siding with her exes, or that they are jealous of her fame. It's a defensive wall that has become impenetrable. This alleged combination of substances is the dark secret behind the tears, the engine driving the erratic behavior. It explains the paranoia, the emotional volatility, and the late-night social media purges. It's the piece of the puzzle that TLC would never and could never show. The family is no longer just watching their daughter and sister grieve a relationship. They are watching her slowly poison herself, and they are terrified that this time she has gone too far to come back on her own. The % we see is a tragedy. The % they are living with, the source claims, is a nightmare. And at the center of this nightmare is the enigmatic figure of Georgi Rusev. To the public, his role in the Darcey saga has been one of a handsome yet frustratingly distant fiancé. We watched him propose. We watched the relationship crumble, and we watched him walk away. The public narrative, shaped by the show's edit, paints him as another man who couldn't handle Darcey's intensity, a man who is perhaps more interested in the financial perks than the emotional commitment. His recent public silence and withdrawal have been interpreted as the final act of a failed relationship. A man moving on, cutting ties, and leaving Darcey to her tears. But what if that narrative is a complete fabrication? What if Georgi's silence isn't an act of anger, but an act of desperation? Our investigation points to a shocking twist, a reframing of Georgi's entire role in this drama. The insider source claims that Georgi's departure was not a simple breakup. It was a calculated strategic move orchestrated in coordination with the Silva family. He did not abandon Darcey. He was forced to present her family with the most painful ultimatum of their lives. According to this theory, Georgi was the one with the front row seat to the escalating crisis. He lived with her. He saw the reality that the cameras didn't capture. He was the one who allegedly found the hidden bottles, who tried to manage the late-night paranoid episodes, who absorbed the tearful, often incoherent accusations. For months, he tried to be her rock, her savior, believing he could love her through the pain. But he saw it getting worse. He saw the prescription medication being misused, the drinking becoming more frequent, the combination leading to a version of Darcey that was unrecognizable and at times frightening. He reportedly pleaded with her to get help, but his pleas fell on deaf ears, twisted into accusations that he was controlling or unsupportive. Finally, he reached his own breaking point. The source alleges that Georgi went to Darcey's father, Mike Silva, the stoic patriarch of the family, and laid his cards on the table. The conversation was reportedly a bombshell. He told Mike, "I love your daughter, but I can't be her caretaker anymore. I am not equipped to handle this. What she needs is not a husband right now. She needs professional medical help. You either get her that help, a real intervention, or I'm gone for good. I will walk away. Not because I don't love her, but because I can't stand by and watch her destroy herself any longer." This wasn't a threat. It was a plea. Georgi's withdrawal, therefore, is not the cause of Darcey's most recent spiral, but the consequence of it. His public silence is a crucial part of the family's strategy. At their request, he has stepped back to remove himself as a scapegoat. As long as he was there, Darcey could blame him for her unhappiness. Her pain could be framed as a reaction to their relationship problems. By removing himself from the equation, Georgi has forced Darcey and the family to confront the real issue. The problem isn't the man. The problem is the underlying condition that sabotages every relationship she's in. His distance is a strategic, painful sacrifice designed to be the final catalyst that awakens the family to the necessity of drastic action. He is not the villain of this story. In this secret narrative, he is the desperate hero who sounded the alarm, the one who loved her enough to risk her hatred in order to save her life. His silence is not empty. It is pregnant with the weight of an ultimatum that is set in motion, the family's most desperate plan yet. With Georgi's ultimatum echoing in their ears, the burden of action fell squarely on the shoulders of one man, Mike Silva. Viewers know Mike as the quiet, steadying force in the chaotic world of his daughters. He is the provider, the protector, the man who finances their dreams and offers stoic, if sometimes exasperated, advice. He is a man of immense privacy and dignity, a stark contrast to the emotionally explosive world his daughters inhabit. For the cameras, the idea of airing his family's darkest secrets is anathema to him. Yet, according to our insider's report, this private man is now being forced to orchestrate a very public adjacent solution to a deeply private problem. The theory is that Mike Silva has been in confidential contact with a well-known television interventionist. This isn't about creating a new storyline for TLC. This is about leveraging the resources and expertise of someone who understands the unique pressures of a public life combined with the private horror of addiction and mental health crisis. The source alleges that Mike has been making discreet inquiries for weeks, exploring the options, understanding the process, and weighing the terrible risks. The interventionist in question is reportedly a prominent figure, someone with a track record of handling high-profile cases with a firm but compassionate hand. The conversations are said to be focused on a surprise confrontation. The family has come to the heartbreaking conclusion that a gentle sit-down conversation will no longer work. Darcey's defenses are too strong. Her ability to deflect and create drama too practiced. They believe the only way to break through the wall of denial is with a unified unexpected show of force. An ambush of love, but an ambush nonetheless. The plan being discussed is meticulous. It would involve gathering a small core group. Mike, Stacey, and perhaps even Darcey's teenage daughters, Aniko and Aspen, who are reportedly becoming increasingly aware and frightened by their mother's instability. Each person would prepare a letter, a heartfelt, non-negotiable plea for her to accept help. The target would not be a television studio, but a private, neutral space. The goal is not to shame, but to shock her into recognizing the severity of the situation. And the endgame is not a conversation, but a commitment. The interventionist would have everything prearranged. A car waiting, a bag packed, and a bed secured at a private high-end wellness facility far away from the cameras and the pressures of her public life. A place where she can detox, get intensive therapy, and finally confront the demons that have haunted her for years without the need to perform for an audience. Mike Silva is allegedly grappling with the immense emotional weight of this decision. To orchestrate an intervention is to admit that his family has lost control. To risk the temporary hatred of the daughter he adores in the hopes of saving her future. He is a man caught between his instinct for privacy and the desperate need for a radical solution. The confidential calls to the interventionist are the sound of a father preparing to go to war for his child. Not against a bad boyfriend or a failed business venture, but against the insidious disease that threatens to consume her entirely. The quiet patriarch is preparing for the loudest, most difficult confrontation of his life. This brings us to the core of our investigation, the grand unifying theory that recontextualizes everything we think we know about Darcey's current storyline. The drama with Georgi, the tearful confessions to the camera, the on-screen fights with Stacey, it is all a smoke screen. A brilliantly executed, if tragic, piece of misdirection designed to hide a much more terrifying reality. The narrative being sold to the public is that Darcey is fighting for a relationship. That her heart is broken. Once again by a man who has left her. But the insider report suggests this is a carefully managed illusion. Darcey is not in a battle for a man's love. She is in a desperate life or death battle for her own well-being, and her family is caught in the impossible position of having to protect her from herself while simultaneously protecting the brand that sustains them. The current season of their show, with its focus on the Georgi breakup, is the perfect cover. It provides a plausible, publicly acceptable reason for her emotional distress. Every tear, every slurred word, every moment of instability can be blamed on heartbreak. It allows them to explain away the symptoms without ever having to name the disease. Think about it. The show becomes a form of narrative therapy, but one where the diagnosis is deliberately wrong. The producers, either complicitly or out of a sense of responsibility, are able to frame the crisis in a way that fits their reality TV format. It's easier and far less legally complicated to film a woman crying over a breakup than it is to film a woman in the throes of a serious dependency issue. The family, led by Mike, is allegedly playing a long game. They are allowing the heartbreak narrative to play out publicly, using the show as a holding pattern, a way to keep Darcey occupied and contained while they make their plans in secret. They are preparing for their most difficult confrontation yet. A reckoning that will happen far away from any TLC cameras in a quiet room where the only audience will be the people who love her most. The stakes are no longer about ratings or Instagram followers. The stakes are about survival. Every scene we watch this season is therefore layered with a hidden meaning. When Darcey talks about feeling alone, the family hears a cry for help related to her isolation with her alleged dependency. When she lashes out at Stacey, they see the erratic anger fueled not by sibling rivalry, but by the substances allegedly controlling her moods. The entire public spectacle is a charade, a tragic play performed by a family in crisis, buying time as they assemble the pieces for a private intervention that they pray will save her life. The fight for Georgi is over. The fight for Darcey has just begun. This deep dive into the alleged secret intervention plan reveals a story of profound complexity and desperation. We see a family grappling with the dual pressures of public scrutiny and private agony. On one hand, there is the Silva brand, the House of Empire, the reality TV fame that is inextricably linked to Darcey's persona as a glamorous, love-seeking diva. Maintaining this image is crucial not just for Darcey, but for Stacey and the entire family enterprise. On the other hand, there is the terrifying unscripted reality of a woman on the edge. The family is walking a tightrope. How do they get Darcey the help she so desperately needs without shattering the illusion that has become their livelihood? This is where the brilliance and the tragedy of the smokehead screen theory becomes so apparent. It's a strategy born of necessity. By allowing the world to believe this is just another chapter in Darcey's romantic saga, they can keep the machine running. The show goes on. The brand stays intact. The fans remain engaged with a familiar narrative. This public narrative provides cover for the covert operation happening in the background. It's a masterful, if heartbreaking, manipulation of the very medium that may have contributed to her problems in the first place. Let's dissect the psychology at play. 4. Darcey, the identity of the heartbroken romantic, is a shield. It has become her entire identity. As long as her pain can be attributed to an external source, a man, a betrayal, a misunderstanding, she doesn't have to look inward. She doesn't have to confront the possibility that the source of her unhappiness lies within her own patterns, her own choices, and her alleged dependencies. The family understands this. They know that a direct public accusation of her issues would trigger a massive defensive reaction. She would likely lash out, deny everything, and retreat even further into her shell, potentially causing irreparable damage to their family and their brand. So, they play along. They film the scenes. They talk about Georgi. They cry with her over the lost love because it's the only language she is currently willing to speak. But behind their sympathetic eyes, a different conversation is happening. Their participation in the show is no longer about entertainment. It's about surveillance. It's a way to keep an eye on her, to monitor her state, to ensure she doesn't completely isolate herself while they put the final pieces of the intervention plan into place. The role of Stacey in this alleged secret plan is particularly complex and poignant. As her twin, she is both Darcey's closest confidant and some might argue her ultimate enabler. Their codependent relationship has been the bedrock of their brand. They are two halves of a whole, the Silva twins. But this dynamic becomes incredibly dangerous when one twin is in a crisis. The insider source suggests that Stacey is facing an impossible choice. To truly help her sister, she may have to break the unspoken rules of their twinship. She has to be willing to stop protecting Darcey's feelings and start protecting her life. This means participating in the intervention, standing with her father, and confronting Darcey with the hard truth she has been avoiding. It would be the ultimate act of love. But it could also be seen by Darcey as the ultimate betrayal, potentially fracturing the central relationship of her life. The internal conflict for Stacey must be immense. Every scene where she comforts Darcey about Georgi is layered with this hidden tension. She is playing a role knowing that a much more difficult and honest performance is required of her behind closed doors. Furthermore, let's consider the logistical and ethical nightmare the family and the production company, Sharp Entertainment, are navigating. How do you handle a star who is visibly unwell on camera? If the allegations are true, the producers are in a precarious position. They have a duty of care, yet their business model thrives on drama. The line between documenting a person's authentic struggles and exploiting a person's breakdown is razor thin. The smokescreen of the breakup narrative allows them to walk that line. It provides a justifiable context for the emotional scenes they're capturing. They can tell themselves and their network that they are simply documenting the aftermath of a failed relationship, a standard storyline in the day universe. This may be a way for them to legally and ethically continue filming. while the family works on a real solution in the background. It becomes a symbiotic, if deeply troubling, relationship. The show provides the cover story and the family uses that cover to plan the rescue mission. The television show has in essence become a holding cell, a controlled environment where the crisis can be contained and managed until real help can arrive. It's a high-stakes gamble, a conspiracy of compassion where everyone holds their breath, hoping the intervention happens before the on-screen drama metastasizes into an off-screen tragedy. Let's push deeper into the character of Mike Silva, the alleged architect of this desperate plan. To truly grasp the gravity of the situation, we must see it through his eyes. This is not a man who courts the spotlight. In every appearance, he exudes an old-school sense of patriarchal duty and a deep discomfort with the performative nature of his daughters' lives. He is a man of business, of logic, of tangible solutions. And he is now faced with a problem that defies all of that. The shape-shifting, insidious nature of addiction and mental health struggles. His decision to allegedly contact a TV interventionist is a significant tell. A man like Mike would typically handle a family crisis with absolute privacy. He would call a family doctor, consult a therapist, and keep it tightly within the family circle. The fact that he has reportedly reached out to a public figure, even for a private consultation, suggests that all other avenues have failed. He has likely tried quiet talks, heartfelt pleas, and setting boundaries, only to watch his daughter's condition worsen. He is now at the end of the road option, the one you take when you're out of all other choices. He is, in a sense, fighting fire with fire. His daughter's life has been consumed by the world of television, a world of producers, narratives, and on-camera personalities. So, he is reaching into that world to find a weapon he can use. An interventionist who has a media profile is not just an expert in the clinical sense. They are an expert in the specific pathology of fame. They understand the narcissism, the insecurity, and the immense pressure that comes with living your life as a public commodity. They know how to speak the language of a reality star, how to cut through the performance and get to the wounded person underneath. This isn't just about finding any qualified professional. It's about finding the right professional. Someone who won't be intimidated or manipulated by Darcey's practiced on-camera persona. Mike is making a calculated strategic choice. He is acknowledging the reality of the beast he is fighting and choosing a warrior who knows its terrain. Imagine the secret conversations, the encrypted emails, the hushed phone calls from his office. Mike, a man who has built a life on stability and control, is now operating like a covert operative. He is gathering intelligence not from business reports but from a distraught Stacey, a frustrated Georgi, and his own pained observations. He is vetting specialists not for a corporate merger but for a soul-saving mission. He is coordinating logistics not for a shipment of goods to transport his own child to a place of healing, likely against her will. The emotional toll of this must be staggering. Every time he sees his daughter on TV, laughing one moment and sobbing the next, it must be like a knife in his gut. He is watching the public consume the symptoms of her illness as entertainment, all while he works tirelessly in the shadows to find a cure. This reframes his on-screen appearances entirely. His quiet, sometimes gruff demeanor is not a sign of disapproval or detachment. It is the heavy silence of a man carrying an unbearable weight. The stoic mask of a father who is terrified of losing his child and is methodically planning the most important and riskiest negotiation of his life. Now, let's explore the what-if of the intervention itself. If this theory holds true, what would that day look like? It would be a day of immense emotional violence, a necessary amputation to save the body. The element of surprise is key. Darcey would be lured to a location under a false pretense, a family dinner, A business meeting for House of, perhaps even a fake filming. Set up for the show. She would walk into a room expecting one reality and be confronted with another, far harsher. 1. The presence of the interventionist would be the first shock, the signal that this is not a normal family gathering. Then, one by one, the people she loves most in the world would deliver their prepared statements. This is the moment of truth where the smoke screen is finally irrevocably burned away. Mike would likely go first, setting a tone of unconditional love but unshakable resolve. He would speak not just as her father, but as the patriarch who sees the legacy of his family threatened. He would talk about his fear, his sleepless nights, and his desperate desire to see her healthy and happy for her daughters. His words would be aimed at breaking through her defenses and reaching the little girl who still looks to him for protection. Then would come Stacey. This would be the most emotionally charged moment. She would have to voice the fear she has likely kept silent for years, sacrificing their twin bond for Darcey's long-term survival. She would have to say, "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep covering for you. I can't watch you fade away. I love you too much to let you die." The betrayal Darcey might feel would be immense, but the truth in Stacey's words would be undeniable. The most powerful blow, however, might come from her daughters, Aniko and Aspen. If they were to participate, their words would carry the innocent, devastating honesty of children who have had to grow up too fast. They wouldn't speak of brands or storylines. They would speak of their mom. They would talk about their fear when she's not herself. Their longing for the stable, present mother they need and deserve. Their plea would be the one to finally shatter Darcey's heart and the family hopes, her denial. Throughout this process, the interventionist would act as the guide and the anchor, managing the emotional explosions, deflecting Darcey's attempts to manipulate the situation and consistently steering the conversation back to the non-negotiable offer. Help right now. There would be a car waiting outside. There would be no room for negotiation. No, I'll think about it. No, let me do it my way. The choice would be stark. Accept this lifeline we are offering you or risk losing the support of your family who can no longer enable your self-destruction. This confrontation is the reckoning our theory has been building towards. It is the moment the fantasy of Darcey's life collides with the brutal reality of her condition. It will be the ugliest, most painful day of her life. And if the family's plan works, it will also be the first day of her salvation. This brings us to the crucial question of Georgi's role in the aftermath. If the ultimatum theory is correct, his departure was a strategic move to trigger the intervention. But what happens after? Does he return? The insider theory suggests that his return is contingent on Darcey's recovery. He didn't leave because he stopped loving her. He left because he could no longer enable her. The family allegedly sees him as a key motivator for her to succeed in treatment. The promise of a renewed, healthy relationship with Georgi could be a powerful incentive for her to do the hard work required in a wellness facility. He represents the life she claims to want, a stable, loving partnership. The family and Georgi himself have made it clear that this life is impossible with her current condition. Therefore, his absence serves as a constant reminder of what she stands to gain if she gets better and what she has already lost by staying sick. His public silence, which seems so cold and final to the outside world, is in this context an act of profound patience and hope. He is waiting in the wings, respecting the family's process and holding up his end of the bargain. He has created the crisis point and now he is allowing them the space to manage it. This theory would also explain some of the cryptic but non-hostile posts that occasionally appear on his social media. He is not lashing out at her, not bad mouthing her in the press. His posts are often about focus, strength, and moving forward, messages that could be interpreted as being for her, a form of long-distance encouragement. He is modeling the behavior he hopes she will one day adopt. This transforms Georgi from a footnote in Darcey's long list of failed romances into the central catalyst for her potential recovery. He was the one who refused to co-sign the tragedy any longer. The one who loved her enough to force a crisis. His ultimate role in her story is not as another failed fiancé, but as the man who by walking away may have given her the only chance she had left to finally save herself. The possibility of their reunion becomes the light at the end of a very dark tunnel. A potential reward for a battle that Darcey has not yet even agreed to fight. So, let's assemble all the pieces of this investigative puzzle. We have the public evidence. The escalating pattern of erratic late night social media posts followed by panicked morning after deletions. A clear sign of an unstable loop of impulsivity and regret. We have the insider leak from a family friend who paints a terrifying